Coming up on TekThing, OnePlus 5, Shannon's got a hands-on review. What to do if you accidentally erased your hard drive, what CPUs will be running, and quite a bit more. It's all coming up on TekThing. Thank you, patrons. Without your support via patreon.com/TekThing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you each and every week. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing. Thanks.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
Especially today if you are in the search for a new Android phone and you are looking to not spend all the cash.
All the cash,
so OnePlus, their thing has been, we're going to try our flagship, or we're going to have sort of a flagship competitor that has a mid-range price. And they've always fell in the neighborhood, sort of in between mid-range and flagship.
And the high-end ones. Yeah, exactly.
And then the 5 came.
And then the 5 came out, which is a little bit more expensive. So we just got a OnePlus 5 into review. It's now available, so it's shipping everywhere. The lower end version is $479, and that is for 6 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM and 64 gigabytes of storage. Or you can upgrade to this one, which is the one I have. It's the $539 model. Has 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM and 128 gigs of storage. So either or. However, neither of those is extra expandable on storage.
There is no micro SD card storage option.
Yeah, and sadly as well, I might as well just preface this, it's not water resistant, it's not waterproof either.
Neither are most iPhones.
No, they aren't.
Or most Android phones for that. Well,
that's true.
The thing that everybody's been going nuts about with this, Snapdragon 835.
Yeah.
6 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes of RAM, which means if you like to keep 23 applications open simultaneously and switch between them, this kind of memory capacity is, everybody's saying it's fast, it switches between apps easily, it's just fast, it switches between, I'm thinking about that as my phone becomes older.
I can easily agree with everybody who's been saying this, and also it is sleek, it is very skinny. The first thing I noticed when I took it out of the box is 7.25 millimeters thin, and it's totally aluminum, so of course a lot of people are also saying this looks a lot like the iPhone, and it does come in 2 different colors, slate gray or this one, which is the midnight black color. So keep that in mind as well if you're an iPhone person. So it's going to look just like those.
There's nothing about it that people will be like, oh, it's a revolutionary design, but it's very, very well built, and it doesn't feel cheap.
No, not at all, absolutely. So some of the cool little perks of this, you get dual SIM card slots, which is great if you like to travel a lot and you don't necessarily want to deal with that all the time. You can stick in 2 SIMs, and you can transfer between them in software, which is great. There's also a physical alert slider, which a lot of phones do not have. However, OnePlus has made this a thing.
Physical alert slider.
Physical alert slider. So it's on the slide, and you can slide it from silent to priority to all. So if you want to turn off everything real quick, you don't even have to open the phone or anything. You can just slide all of those off, and then you're good to go, and nothing will sound. You can even turn off vibration and everything, which I've always really liked about these. There is one speaker grill on the bottom. It is not a stereo speaker at all. It gets really, really loud, but that's about it. So it's nothing to write home about at all. And they do include a headphone jack as well, and USB-C port for charging. And that does come with their dash charging capabilities, just like the older models as well, which will get you about 50% charge in 30 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very, very quick charging, which is great.
So not quite as epic as the Google Pixel claims that it'll give you 7 hours charging for 15 minutes of charging. 7 hours play for 15 minutes of charging.
One of those.
One of those.
It's on par with those, though. Dash charging is very, very fast, and especially because this has the 3,300 milliamp per hour battery, which means that you're going to get at least a full day of usage out of it, even if you're a heavy user. For example, I was able to watch, and no, I didn't necessarily sit around and watch shows all day, but I had videos playing on here for 6 hours, plus I left all the networks on, and I did the adaptive brightness, which changes brightness depending on how light it is or how dark it is in the environment around you, which brought my battery down to about 21% by 11 p.m. and that started at 100% at 8 a.m. So that was a full day plus some, which is awesome. So I was very impressed with the battery on this little baby here. Also, I should remind everybody the battery is not removable as well, so you can't really take anything off with this device. With the operating system, I had 0 lag, and that's probably due to the fact that I had 8 gigs of RAM and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 CPU. Oxygen OS is what you're going to be dealing with here. It's the closest to vanilla Android that I think you're going to get on a non-Android vanilla phone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the home screen looks just the same as the Google Pixel XL, for example. There are some changes in the menu if you start looking through all your different settings, but not a whole lot. Instead of using the Google Assistance menu when you swipe right, you're going to see a whole completely different Oxygen OS menu, which includes a memo area, recent applications and contacts that you can quickly get to, as well as quick details about your battery, your storage, and any data remaining on your service, whatever that might be. So I actually really liked the menu. I thought it was really cool. And of course, Assistant is still around if you want somebody to talk to. It's also very minimalist, and personally, I kind of like that about phones, so I didn't see a lot of bloat. And it also, I do want to mention this too, it has this thing called Storage Box, which is this encrypted storage file database that you can access with a 6-digit PIN. Yeah, in the phone itself. Cool. So the phone is encrypted, and then it has additional encryption for files that you want to encrypt.
So you can hide your stuff inside of it.
Yeah, exactly. So it works out pretty well. In the software settings also, there is a gaming do not disturb mode now, which blocks all the notification and also turns off all the buttons. So if you're playing a game and you don't want it to leave the game, it'll keep you in there, which is very similar to what you can do on like a PC, for example.
Is there like a do not disturb mode because I don't want to be disturbed by any? Okay.
Well, it's that, and so that like you don't kill yourself in the game. There is a reading mode as well, which removes all the blue light from the screen, so it's kind of like an e-reader. It is, personally, to me, it's a little weird.
Screen gets very yellow,
Yes, it gets very yellow, very gray, but it works fine. And then there's also a night mode, just like other Android phones as well. Gestures are built in, but turned off by default. I personally hate gestures. I don't use them, so but I did turn these on, and they are responsive in my testing, though I had no problems using them. The buttons on the front are all capacitive touch screen keys, but there's also a fingerprint button right in the middle, and that's how you can unlock your phone. It's actually a lot faster than my Google Pixel XL when I was unlocking it. Yeah, so I was really impressed by how fast it was. The phone is completely carrier unlocked. It comes with all the network connections that you would expect. There's Bluetooth, NFC, yada, yada, yada. Nothing to write home about right there. The display is 5.5 inches. It's 1920 by 1080. I know some people will be like, ooh, it's not Quad HD.
Well, that's also why you get better battery. I mean, if you do Quad HD,
you get better battery.
You usually tank the battery life. And I'm down with 1080p screens.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice a big difference, to be honest. And the pixels per inch are 401 pixels per inch. It's an AMOLED display.
That's dense enough.
It's dense enough. Like, you can't really see any of the pixels unless you're like hurting your eyeballs staring at it up close and personal.
I put my loop on.
And at that point, you really shouldn't do it anyway. Colors are not overly saturated on the screen or contrasting. It gives a very natural look when compared to other Android phones. There are color calibration options in the menu. There's sRGB, there's a custom setting, and then there's this default one. Very easy to see in the sunlight as well if you bring this outside. It seems to be a very
bright screen.
It's really bright. Like, yeah, it's very bright. Like, you can't see the menu on here unless I turn it down. Last thing I want to talk about is the camera, of course.
Of course.
Yay! So this is what I was excited about. The back one, there's actually 2 of them.
Yeah.
There's dual camera setup here.
Well, there's 2 front facing and then 1 back facing. No. How do we think of that?
2 on the back.
Yeah.
1 on the front.
I always get that part backwards.
I do too. And then people yelled at me, and I was like, I'm sorry. I always think about this as being the back side because this is the front one that I use all the time. Anyway, it's 16 megapixels f1.7 aperture for the first one, and then 20 megapixels f2.6 aperture for the second one. And the camera boots up so quickly. Really? I was really impressed by how fast I was able to open up like an application and start flashing pictures. Just super, super quick. So very happy with that. Also comes with a whole bunch of cool little settings. Like, there is a timer that's easily managed. There's HDR, there's an aspect ratio change, and of course there's your flash settings too. I found HDR on auto was most likely the best option for most of the pictures that I was taking. It is much more pleasing to the eye as well for the photos that you end up getting out of it. Non-HDR photos, Didn't like them as much, but I'm sure some people will like that because they aren't as contrasty. When you do use the phone in HDR, the blues, the greens, the reds, they pop so much. Like this picture of flowers that I took at the conservatory in San Francisco. Crazy reds, but I thought it was beautiful and it was very clear and everything like that. Now on occasion, photos did end up slightly overexposed, like another picture from the conservatory where the leaves look great, but then you look at the window in the background, you can't see the detail in the window. So the focus looked wonderful, but then you start looking at everything behind that focus and you're like, oh, well, I wish I could see more of what's going on in the background. The camera does lose some quality with finer details like the tomato plant hairs on this other photo that I took right out front. I was not impressed with the low light images like this other one that I took at this pirate bar in San Francisco, which is very dark on the inside, but has these cute little lights everywhere. So I thought, oh, this is a good test. So it had tons of graininess in the darker regions, and it lost some of that finer detail in the light fixtures. So something to think about there. Might not want to use this for selfies if you're taking them in bars and places like that.
So not your low light bar photography camera.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's also up to 8x zoom, but that is all digital. Personally, I am not a fan of digital zoom, so I prefer to walk up to my subject and take a picture as opposed to getting all that loss of quality whenever I zoom in. So nothing new there, it's what I expected. However, since they do have the dual camera, the 2x zoom did not lose any quality and still looked very good. And yes, while this picture of my keyboard looks grainy, it's actually a lot of dust, and I realize how dirty it looks. But there you go, it kept the detail of all the dust.
So it's actually basically there's an 8x digital zoom, which sucks, and a 2x optical zoom.
Yeah, and that's what you get with that dual camera, which I thought was really cool.
Nice.
I was like, that's neat. I haven't gotten to play with something like that before. Pro mode, which is another option in the settings of your camera, is really fun to mess with. Yes, you have a histogram, and also tells you if you have it balanced correctly, which is great. So you get things like a shutter speed, a white balance, there's ISO, there's aperture settings, there's custom presets if you want to customize all of them so that it defaults to all those settings. And you can also shoot in RAW mode instead of just JPEG, which is so cool. I don't necessarily think a lot of people are going to be using Pro mode because it requires all those setups, just like with a DSLR. But it's there.
If you're a photography nerd,
exactly,
you have the option.
It's there, and it works really well if you want it. Other functionality that it has, there's a time lapse, there's slow motion, and there's also panorama. All of those are really fun to mess with. They're more quirky, not something that you're going to use every day, but they work.
1080p video work fine on it?
Yeah, 1080p was great. I actually had a lot of fun doing video, but the big thing a lot of people want to know about is their depth mode, or bokeh effect, which you also get with the dual camera. Yeah, so portrait mode, bokeh effect, depth mode, whichever name you want to give it to. So if your subject moves at all, it's going to blur. The colors are slightly saturated whenever you take one of these photos and you're trying to get the blurry background and the person in a nice effect, so it looks really professional, I would say.
Right.
But for the most part, didn't really have a problem with it. I thought it was really cool. And I was surprised because I heard some people did not necessarily like the bokeh.
There was also a firmware update for, I think, specifically for the camera that came out like this weekend.
Which I did do an update over the weekend, so that probably helped a ton. And with video, as you mentioned, I was very happy with it. There is an electronic stabilization on the inside of this phone. So when you are shooting video and you're walking around and stuff like that, it's going to stabilize. And it does really, really well with there. I was impressed quite a bit with the video.
Nice.
I liked it a lot. The front camera, last thing, 16 megapixels and it's f2.0 aperture. It has this beauty mode, and it also has capture and smile and HDR and all those things. So weirdly, photos are still beautified even if you turn off beauty mode. Like, it takes away some of the details of my face. Like, I could not see my zit, and I was just like, where's my zit? Not that I necessarily want it there,
You don't need pores. I will make you look like plastic doll.
It's cool to have the option for beauty mode, but it's just a little too beautified when I even turn off beauty mode. So, like, let me have that detail if I want it, and let me take it away if I don't want it.
Perhaps that's a software glitch that will be upgraded in the near future.
I hope so, because even with it off, I was just like, this is a little too fashionable for me or something. The lens is the same width as my Pixel XL, so selfies with friends was no different from that. It's wide enough for pictures with like 4 people. So, I think that's about everything about this phone.
I'm sensing, generally speaking, a massive thumbs up for this phone.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really happy with it. It's thin, it's incredibly fast. I mean, so fast. I was very impressed. The battery is awesome. The dual SIM, the fast charging are very nice perks, especially if you travel a lot. The camera was a slight letdown when it came to like the darker pictures or the quality and some of the HDRs. But I also can't be too disparaged about it because it's also 2/3 of the cost of most of the other high-end phones that are out there.
$300 less than a Pixel XL.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. I am going to do this whole camera showdown between the Pixel XL and the OnePlus 5, just so you can see a nice comparison of the two in a TekThing short. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube so you can see that. But all in all, I gotta say, for $500, like, this is a really good option. I was really happy with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, email ask@tekthing.com if you got a question, or of course you can tweet at TekThing.
It's so hot in here. I had to take my jacket off, I'm sorry.
The warehouse, it is heating up.
It's true. So we got a tweet from @AnotherDK who tweeted out to Robert Heron and Patrick Norton, what CPUs you guys rocking these days for your main workstation?
That actually got me wondering, because we haven't talked about our systems too much. Okay, so
no, we have not.
Robert runs a Core i7-920 CPU, which is 8 years old. I still have my Core i7-920 CPU. It's just sitting on a shelf somewhere. I just upgraded from last year's, right? Because we talked about it, I think, episode 118 from an Intel 6700K to an AMD Radeon 1800X. That's my main work machine. That was a few weeks ago. Rendering files, like rendering video files, now takes about 40% less time.
What?
Yeah.
So it was worth it.
Lots more cores.
Yeah.
So yes, in my case, it was particularly worth it.
Yeah.
So you built your gaming machine at home last year. It's like a Core i5.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah, we did a build video on it for the
Well, you still have the parts list for it.
I do. I saved the parts list. It's so old, but it's a Core i5 4690K. It's 3.5 gigahertz quad-core processor, and then everything else is like 3 years old. So it's old. But
it's 2 years. It's barely 2 years old.
I know.
Then again, my CPU is barely a year old.
I can Lightroom on it. I can video edit on it. It's a little slow sometimes, which I will say it's slow. But
slow in terms of like editing photos or rendering video?
Rendering videos and sometimes editing the photos if I'm doing a large batch in Lightroom, which is something that you're going to run into, especially if you have an older CPU. So in that sense, I can say like, well, it gets the job done. It could be faster, but is it worth putting money towards? That's the thing that I'm a little debated about.
And I would say as a gaming machine, I wouldn't even bother upgrading the CPU
at this point. Oh, no, it's
point.
fine with gaming. Yeah.
But like video rendering is one of the things that's going to chew up all the processor you can throw at it.
Yeah.
You were also thinking about an SSD upgrade?
I was. So my 4 terabyte hard disk drive is also a little bit slow, and that also messes with the speed that I can access my files whenever I'm using Lightroom and video editing. SSD. I know, but the prices on those, I'm still waiting for those to go down too. So if I wanted a 4 terabyte solid state disk, that's still very expensive, like really expensive.
You don't need a...
I need a lot of space.
Yeah, but
I take raw photos.
I know, but you could put like a 1 terabyte drive in your system.
That's true, I could. So 1 terabyte solid state drives are around $100 to $150, depending on which options you're looking for.
No, not 1 terabyte.
1 terabytes, yeah.
They must have dropped 50% in the last 2 weeks.
Really?
Well.
Oh, well, there's Oh man, you're right. I was thinking of 500 gigs. I was thinking of 500 gigs.
I will say, like a 500 gig hard drive and an old school like 4 terabyte hard drive is a nice way to go, especially if you're backing up a bunch of files. But yeah,
right.
I think.
And I have a very small solid state disk right now just for booting up, but it does not have enough storage space on it, so I couldn't switch my hard disk drive over to what I currently have. So I would need to upgrade to a solid state disk with a lot more storage room on it. But changing from a 4 terabyte down to like a 1 terabyte would be hard to do because I've already filled up that 1 terabyte.
Well, you can get creative.
I could. I definitely could.
I wonder if another one, Samsung 850 is probably like the best SSD, sort of general purpose SSD out there. And Crucial's MX300 is not quite as speedy, but you're looking at under $300 for a 1 terabyte SSD.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, and for a 2 terabyte Crucial, you're looking at $549.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little steep for me.
Yeah, but compared to I mean, if you're looking at a Samsung 850 EVO, the 2 terabyte version of that is $749.
Nice.
$549, $749.
So what about you? I mean, you just upgraded, so do you have any reason right now to upgrade any further, or are you happy?
Well, outside of the chip I just broke on the pfSense router build, turns out I wasn't even rubbing vigorously. I was getting the what do you call it, the thermal paste off of it, and somebody got in the underside, and I was scrubbing the bottom side, and popped one of the capacitors off.
Oh no!
At least I think it was a capacitor. You know, it's this half the size of a grain of rice.
Yeah.
But I mean, I need to find a replacement processor for that one. But I'm good for the moment. I have some friends that are eagerly awaiting AMD's Threadripper is going to be out sometime in the next few weeks, and of course the new AMD GPUs. We're going to have the word on those as soon as those are released, and we can get to benchmark numbers. But at this point, I'm good.
Cool.
I have a very, very fast, and I just had to upgrade the GPU, which I'm going to keep because we did the 8K monitor test, and I had to upgrade my GPU to even be able to run the 8K monitor at 8K.
It's crazy.
So I'm good. The only thing I'm kind of circling around is like, you know, if I can just find a used HTC Vive on Craigslist.
Yes. That would be fun. We could finally get some VR up in here.
Used. I'm not buying a $600. There's no single app right now that has me going, I must have the VR goodness.
Oh, easy, Star Trek.
I'd also, yeah.
It's so cool.
Great. You've got a fast enough GPU at home. You should go buy the HTC Vive so you can play Star Trek.
No, it's too much money.
So in case you think we're spending madly, we're still cheap.
Yeah, we are.
Anybody out there thinking about a new CPU, let us know. Tweet at TekThing, at Snubs, or at Patrick Norton. What's that? New build video? Head on over to patreon.com/TekThing, and if you aren't already a patron, it's time you became one. You'll get access to our patron-only videos, an audio-only podcast feed, and at the $10 and higher levels, monthly hangouts with Shannon and I. Patreon.com/TekThing is the place to be. If you can't donate, we totally understand. Keep sending in your emails, and hey, if you could spare a moment or two to give our video the thumbs up on YouTube, like our Facebook page, so much stuff there, or review TekThing on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher, we would appreciate it. It all helps. Thank you so much for supporting TekThing, no matter how you do it.
We got an email from Howard who writes in, I accidentally deleted a hard drive that has 3 partitions on it. I have tried multiple utilities like Aomi Partition Assistant, EaseUS Partition Master, DiskPart. None of those seem to work. I really need your help. Thank you, from Howard.
Okay.
No backups?
Yeah, first thought, this is why you should always back things up.
Sorry.
No.
Just back up, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, ransomware. Did you have a backup?
Yeah.
Crashed hard drive. Did you have a backup? Corrupted hard drive. Did you have a backup? Accidentally erased a hard drive. Did you have a backup? This is why you should always back things up. Second thing, second thought, because I like simple, and looks like you've already tried EaseUS Partition Recovery Wizard and various other tools to recover the lost partitions, I would stop trying to rebuild the lost partitions and use a file recovery tool or undelete app, for example, Recuva on it. Recuva always makes me think, I don't know what it makes me think.
Recuva?
Your files should all be there if they haven't been overwritten. A file recovery tool is going to scan the whole drive for files, then allow you to copy them to another drive.
Right.
Big, huge, important caveat here. Do not install Recuva or any other file recovery tool on the drive you're trying to recover files from. Pull the drive out of the machine if you can. This is where, like, soldered down, you know, if you have a laptop where the hard drive is soldered down, this is where life starts to suck. But if you can, pull the drive you're trying to recover files from out of the machine, put it in another machine or in a USB, you know, enclosure. It hurts. It is painful when you realize that you have written over the file you wanted to save when you installed the file recovery tool or run the file recovery tool. You know.
I would say though, Recuva or Recuva, however you decide to say it, it's pretty painless, but there are lots of other options out there. For example, as Patrick stated earlier, EaseUS or EaseUS.com, over there they have a great data recovery wizard that will walk you through all the different steps. There is a free trial of that one, or you can purchase the full thing. The second one that you can check out is called Disk Drill. This one is just for Windows machines, so you can't use this on a Mac.
There is a Mac version.
Oh, there is a Mac version.
There's a Mac version.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yay, that's happy. I love seeing a Mac version. That's great. And then the last one is called Glary Undelete. I've personally used Glary Undelete myself, and it works really, really well, especially because it works on several different file systems.
Yeah.
So, yay. Yeah, personally one of my favorites.
There are literally dozens of file recovery tools.
Yes, there are.
These are just a few that we have had, personal relations with. Second thought, like Uncle Moobix likes to say, recovery can cause more damage than the first break. Always create an image of the drive first. So technically, right? Because I was signaling with Uncle Moobix when I was writing a segment up, and technically he was talking about like even recovering a single file rather than trying to operate on the actual disk itself. But you basically do a sector by sector copy to another drive and work on a copy of that copy, right? A sector by sector backup means your tool has actually gone to the drive, and even if it doesn't think anything's there, it just does its best to copy the information off of it.
Right.
You'll be a lot safer if you work on a copy of the drive rather than the original drive, especially if you suddenly go, you know what? I'm going to send this drive to my hard drive died or drive savers. Yeah. I don't care what it costs. I'm going to have a professional drive recovery team work this over. They'll be a lot happier if you haven't sullied the original drive.
That sounds eerily similar to the forensic data recovery tool one of my friends uses for a 3-letter agency.
It might be this one. Rob's a big fan. A lot of people I know love this. FTK Imager. It's free. It's also a pro-grade forensic tool you can use to create an evidence chain, and you can use it to recover deleted files. And if you're looking at this and thinking like, is that hexadecimal? Yeah, you're probably right. But there are lots of instructions, including like when you download it, you get the Imager user guide.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a big first start, especially once you get past these sort of legal acknowledgments up at the front. But they also include a link to eForensics Magazine's FTK Imager step-by-step.
Oh, nice.
And it walks you through how to use this to back up or, to do all the things.
That's good.
Yeah, because when you first open up FTK Imager, you're going to look at it and be like,
you're going to be a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's one of those tools where it's like, it's hardcore, and it's like the first time you open up, I don't know, a carburetor, where you're just like,
but it works. But once you know how to use it, yeah, you can recover lots of things.
If you're looking for something super, super simple, easiest to do backup, it'll do like a sector by sector clone. Probably has a much chiller learning curve than FTK Imager, but you can't also use that tool for file recovery. You'll need additional tools to do that because they sell lots of separate tools to do lots of separate things.
But always remember at the beginning, just make sure that you're doing that 3-2-1 backup, and then you won't have to worry so much about it if this kind of thing does happen.
Back it up, people.
We got an email from Des, who wrote ask@TekThing.com. Patrick and Shannon, as a recent college grad, I am trying to figure out several things, such as how to find a job, how much money I could or should be making. I have a degree in Cybersecurity Management, a 4.0 GPA, but no certifications yet. I am looking at either Atlanta, Texas, or the DC metro area, whether or not I should go back to school for a master's and how soon, if government contract work is a good idea, what kind of things to expect in the pen testing life, where it might take me, trying to maybe be CTO or CISO one day, certifications I might want, your thoughts on penetration testing as a viable career option, and security clearances. Are they worth it? Thank you so much. Love everything you do, from Des. Whew, that was a lot of questions.
Thanks, Des.
Thank you.
My first thought is I'm looking at this, which is like a diagram of student loans, owns, and secured. Basically, student loan debt rose from $480 billion in the first quarter of 2006 to like $1.4 billion in the third quarter of 2016.
Wow.
And something I think about a lot, if you're not in an area where you have to have the degree to do the job, don't go back to school yet, especially not to graduate school. You just graduated. You have no idea if you actually like working in pen testing or information security. You might find out something may happen to completely change you and move you in another direction. Or you might find out in a few years that if you really want to be a CTO, what you really need is a business degree, because it's going to give you all of the business math or managing stuff, whatever that particular thing is. You might find out something completely different will be more useful for your career.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than spending an extra 2 or 3 years getting into the working world and amassing tens and thousands of hundreds of thousands of more dollars in debt to find out that, yeah, maybe I didn't need a master's degree.
Yeah. I mean, I graduated in restaurant and hospitality administration.
I'm a lit major.
Now we're talking about tech and InfoSec on a podcast. So, things can change in life.
Oh my goodness. That's first thought. Second thought, find some work. Now, you asked how to find work. More often than not, your network is how you find work. So you talk to your parents, you talk to your friends, you talk to your friends' parents, you see if there's a job referral program at the school you graduated from, because your network is much more likely to find you your job than hurling,
resumes out
into
onto
the void.
Craigslist or wherever they're hiring, monster.com. I also noticed too, a lot of conventions have networking opportunities for InfoSec as well as resume builders. So if you go to those conventions, you can network and you can find people who are currently hiring, because they hire out from those cons a lot. So keep that in mind as well. Find some work. Or not in InfoSec. Yeah, start working. Get a gig that's interesting to you and start working at it. Explore, experiment. Worry less about salary on your first job you're getting than getting a job someplace where you will be learning a lot. A lot of times you might find that a place will offer you a lower salary, but they will also pay for you to get those certs.
Right.
So they will actually send you out to conventions, or they'll send you out to a class for a week where you can actually get that certification, because it boosts their credibility a lot more as well as yours. So yeah, that's something too.
Oh my goodness. This may not be the most brilliant advice, but seriously, money's less important at 20-something than getting mad exposure and learning everything you can. At least that's what worked for me. Pen testers travel a lot, and entry level in any career basically makes nothing. So if I was looking for a place to live, I'd be leaning more towards outside Atlanta or in Texas. Metro DC. Love it, amazing, incredibly expensive. So you'll be commuting forever in a day. If you have to work in the office, do you want to spend 2 hours a day in the car or on trains to get to the office? That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you want to be spending 70% of your salary for your, half of a bedroom in a mediocre neighborhood in Metro DC?
Welcome to San Francisco.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's even worse here than it is in DC, and DC's out of control. And people who grew up in Atlanta are like, Atlanta's out of control, but compared to San Francisco, it seems so reasonable. My favorite pen tester sent me this link, room362.com/start, Start in InfoSec, and it is a collection of blog entries and articles that people have put together. Literally these are all about getting a career in cybersecurity, infosecurity. It's a great collection, and there are lots of really, really good ideas. For example, The First Steps to a Career in Information Security by Marissa Fagan. It's talked about, you need a blog, you should be on Twitter. Every day I see connections being made on Twitter. People in information security are using this forum to talk about relevant issues, ask questions, and make new friends. A list of people to follow to start learning about it. You have to create your own internship. You must learn to love public speaking. There's an unbelievable amount of awesome advice collected in this page from people who are doing the thing you think you want to do.
And you'll notice as well with a lot of those, people are going to give you different advice based on their own experience. So my advice may be completely different from somebody else's.
Yes.
But find what you're passionate about too, because cybersecurity and InfoSec is a very broad environment to get into, and there's lots of different varieties that you can go towards. You can go towards red teaming, you can go towards social engineering, you can go toward finding vulnerabilities. It really just depends on what your real passion is currently and what you want to focus on.
And don't be entirely shocked if you find out that what you end up doing for a living has almost nothing to do with your college degree.
Yeah, like us.
I mean,
which still weirds me out.
Well, I spent 5 years learning how to like sort of condense large amounts of information and explain things to people.
Right.
But you know, I'm not sitting here going like, let's talk about the inner voice that's been expressed in contemporary literature and how it differs.
And I took classes in theater, which kind of helps here, as well as learning business from restaurant management. So I guess it worked out.
You could find yourself selling widgets on Etsy in 2 years and being much happier than you ever were, you know, red teaming.
That's true.
Who knows? Explore and try everything.
So definitely check out Movix's website, Room 362. It should help you a ton with finding out what your passion is and where you want to go forward in this. And good luck, because we need a lot more cybersecurity professionals in this field. Yeah. And I am striving to get more people interested in that. So really excited for you. This is a
growth industry.
Oh yes, yes it is. Hello Petya, I think it was called, the new ransomware this week. Yeah, there's always new ransomware.
I didn't know that was Rob's website.
Yeah.
I learned something new every day.
My friend Movix. So fun. He's a great pen tester.
He's our friend.
So moving on, we got another question from Austin over in Springfield, Missouri. Yeah, Missouri State University. That's my, what's it called?
Alma mater.
Alma mater, yeah. I have been using fairly simple single external drives for backup and storage of things like movies for several years now. I recently heard what sounds like the click of death. I'm planning on getting a better backup storage system eventually, but since I only just recently graduated college from Missouri S&T, I don't quite have the money to get what I want right now, so I need a stopgap solution. I was looking at new externals, and since my old one is only 3 terabytes, a 3 or 4 terabyte portable would be suitable in terms of capacity, but I was wondering if there would be any concerns. Regards from Austin in Springfield, Missouri.
So I know what you're thinking. What I really want is this commercial grade, rack mounted 36, well, they actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're thinking. It's like, you know, this is what I really want. I want automated, you know, fault and drive failure tolerant devices.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? I mean, actually, you know, there's a lot less expensive ones that do that, but you know, here's the thing, right? 3, 2, 1. 3 copies on 2 different platforms, at least 1 off-site. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. Just backing up the contents of your computer onto something, anything, is the first step. Yeah. Back up on whatever you have that you can afford, and then add offsite, or perhaps you could use offsite could be the first one rather than, you know, backing it up. And if you have like, you know, 10 gigabytes of, or 10 terabytes of movies, obviously you're not going to upload those unless you have a ton of money.
True.
But, you know, back up on whatever you have that you can afford. External drive is fine, just don't leave it, you know, plugged in your computer 24/7. You know, then add offsites, and then start getting fancy. For example, a disk station DS416 Slim, like, oh, it's a 4.
Those are awesome.
Well, okay, this is 2.5-inch drive, so you probably want a full-size disk station. But here's the thing. Yes, I get it. You want a 5-bay NAS with RAID and fault tolerance and awesomeness. Just get the external drive and get your files off of that other drive before it, you know, dies. Yeah. And then you're going,
If it's clicking, it's most likely starting to fail. So you want to get that data off of there as soon as possible. Yeah. Just get a cheap hard drive, external hard drive off of Amazon or something. Yeah. Like that will at least cover you for the time being until you can get something better.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on graduating.
Yes, congratulations.
We got an analog, and remember, once in a while, put down the phone, step away from the screen, close the laptop, and do something analog. Like Brian, who writes in, this is what I did after I closed the laptop in an analog world. 40 plus years ago in Southern California, Robert Price made his first wood project side cabinet out of cheap, thin plywood for his wife, Gloria. This cabinet was moved with the rest of us to Maryland for 23 years and now lives in Nevada, where his son renovated it for a new look while listening to the same songs he did to put it together. Aww. The only problem I have now is I forgot where I put the glass panels. Oh, I hate that feeling.
That's awesome. Yeah. Wow, that's gorgeous too.
And very, very analog. Refinishing is about as analog as you get in this world.
Yeah, that's seriously analog. It looks awesome though. Congratulations. I hope that it lives many, many years with your family.
Mm-hmm. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And we'll see you next week on TekThing. And it didn't really work very well on the paint he had, and then he got a jar of this stuff, and it worked much faster.
Cool.
And you smell like oranges at the end of it.
Yum.
Well, you smell like orange.
Great if you like
orange in the sense of like, you know, orange from the
orange
beverage
chemicals.
drink. Yeah.
You smell like orange.
Well, you know what I mean? Like when somebody's like, what flavor is this? And you're like,
purple.
Blue. Purple.
Yes. Oh, I am familiar with purple.
Purple. It tastes like purple.
Tastes like purple.
What fruit does that taste like?
Purple?
None that exists outside of a Nintendo game.
My feet are sweaty.
We want to take a moment to thank all of our patrons because you're the people that make this possible, and we are grateful.
Thank you, everybody.
Now she has to go change her socks.
And he's got to go do a build video.
Woo!
I'm not even wearing socks. You want to smell my feet?
I'm good.